show Hollyweed and forthcoming Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Michelle Pugh on Fox.
We got it.
Another shot.
I don't know if we got a good shot here.
Air happens Tuesday night. The Mega Millions jackpot is now at $433 million since nobody won last night's drawing.
It's expected to be the 5th highest jackpot in the history of the game and may grow to go beyond even.
I guess this is the only angle we have.
Breaking Mega Millions jackpot was $656 million. That was won back in 2012.
Tornado, that jackpot was split between several people. Camp Crusoe.
Close that door for me. Hey, close it.
Are you thinking of buying or selling your home? Downsizing? Upsizing? Investing? Are you relocating? Do you want to know your local market conditions? Are you behind on payments? Are you looking for improvement tips? Well, what if your home didn't sell? This is Real Estate with Ryan, your hometown expert and trusted source for the most up-to-date information. And now your host, Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well. That's a duet.
That's right. We're duetting it today. How is everybody doing this morning? I hope you're doing well and having a great Saturday. That storm was a little bit crazy last night.
How about the storms?
I know, it was crazy. Everybody in our house was scared.
The dogs were scared.
Yeah, it was fun times last night. But that's okay. Now we're having a beautiful, cool day today. It doesn't feel like summer today. It feels like spring. It's a great day. I want to go ahead and just start out the show and talk about some of our closings and
Hey, before we start that, April, let's chat about that event we had last week.
Yeah.
Appreciate everybody that came out. Such a great event. We had a lot of good people that came out and networked and really met some nice people. Had some great interested parties that looked at the house and really was a great event there. John Adams from the studio came out with his lovely wife. Had an opportunity to meet them. So great to meet his wife. And there's some really great people. It was good networking. Had the police department come by, first responders, have a little extra food. They were great. So thank everybody that came out last week to our event in Deer Valley. We really appreciate that.
Yes, it was fantastic. It was a fun time.
So before we start our show, just to give you an indication of where our show is leading, it's a great show. You definitely want to stay tuned. Guys, if you got any questions out there, you're driving around, it's a beautiful Saturday, 865-888-TALK, 865-888-TALK. The studio lines are open. Any questions you have, April and I will answer those live on the air. Anything real estate related, we want to make sure we cover it for you. So just give us a buzz. Now, good show. In selling, purchasing and selling, it's always a delicate issue. So whether you buy first or sell first, there's always a challenge there. A lot of our clients say, well, how much time do we have to relocate? How much time do we have to get out when we move? And so our topic today is buyer possession before closing. Could be buyers or sellers, so early possession. The risk, the pitfalls, and should you do it? And we're going to talk about that today. And it's a delicate subject. It's got its pros and cons, and hopefully we're going to educate you on that process. And April's got some stories that will probably relate to that as well.
Of course, because I love stories. So first, let me just go ahead and say some congratulations. Riverport sold with the Maynards, Valley View, the Beals, Fredericksburg, the Lot, and with the Ciros, it sold, as well as Sunset, the LaCroix, Evolution Way, the Hazens, Wilkerson Road with Rose and Robert, and then Colby Station, McMahon, Windswept, Mr. Storm, Jenkins Road, the Crofts. They were able to buy them a home. And then contracts, we have Whaley Lane, congratulations, Summit Lake, Hearthstone, Rockwell Farms, Bays Mountain, he's buying and selling on Brown Gap. Archer, they're under contract. Powder Mill. Walden went back on the market and they have a couple of contracts, so I'm sure we're going to get that worked out. And then Bear Paw should be closing soon, so congratulations to them and more to come.
Good deal.
Sure, yeah.
Good deal. Congratulations to our clients, and we appreciate all your trust and support. We appreciate you guys listening to us in the studios, or if you're streaming outside, Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, we appreciate you guys watching us. Make sure that you guys, if you're out and about, you can always download the app, the Talk Radio app. It's a great opportunity. I know we failed to mention that. We were coming from out of town, on vacation, and we saw the app, and I was telling John just how great the app worked. He said he could, listen to the news station all the way in Florida. It was seamless, so you can carry us with us. That's, hey, carry us in your pocket. Well, listen, guys, we know obviously with the market changes, everybody loves real estate. Whether you're buying, investing, flipping, whether you're updating the kitchen, we always want to give you the up-to-date information in the market.
You got it. And for a 15-year loan, it's 3.80. So some adjustments there. And previously we talked about how they were increasing those mortgage rates, and I think that they decided that maybe they were moving a little bit too quick because they had seen that some loan applications had went down. And so I think that they try to come back down with those mortgage rates, and hopefully they won't increase those too fast. So
it's just the market, we've been very low for a long time, guys, and so take advantage. That's why we've seen a lot of activity this year. We talked about it on the show that, buyers, if they're on the fence and thinking about purchasing or selling, it's a great opportunity.
Right.
Sellers are getting phenomenal pricing. We're seeing the market cool down a little bit in the summer months. We're seeing an inventory push on the market. We're seeing Feds adjust the rates, which ultimately is affecting the overall market. So, where the sellers were positioned once on the market, maybe we have to readjust. We have to look at the market. We have to look at our feedback. Ultimately, guys, the buyers and the sellers are going to determine market value. And I think, over East Tennessee the last 5 years, last 16, 18 months couldn't be any better. So if you're there for that opportunity, it's still there. And I think for buyers, the biggest concern is buyers, finding inventory. We're talking with a couple that's being relocated back in town. I said, Ryan, every time we find something, it's back under contract. But not all of them are like that. And so there's an opportunity where the market may be, let's say that the sellers were in spring market pricing and they've sat there for a little while. There's an opportunity for a buyer to come in and kind of look at the market presently and maybe pick up a property that maybe hasn't sold because of the pricing, maybe the marketing, and come in there and still get a deal. So there's still good deals out there. We're seeing some foreclosures, some REO properties pick up. So those are good things. Not good for the market, but for a buyer, it's a great deal, great opportunities. And we've really got some great products where sweat equity, do a little work to the property, could give you instant equity in a good equity position. And the main thing is, with the renovation loans, you can do that kitchen the way you want to do it. If you've got beige cabinets and you want it more of a darker wood finish, then you can do that, and it gives a lot of opportunity. What we always find is we go into a new property and they've got the basic carpet. Well, then they end up changing it anyway. So I like the renovations because you can take it from a certain property that maybe needed some love, give it some love, and just really transform the space. And what was a property that maybe the buyer wouldn't consider, if they can get their imagination and kind of look outside the box, they'd be amazed what comes along.
That's true.
Yeah. So let's dive into our show. Let's talk about buyer's possession and why that's a risk. Well, so let me go over the real estate part of that. So basically, in the state, in Tennessee, or probably across the country, if you're moving and you're relocating to another property, more than likely the buyer's going to pay the money that they're due, whether it's cash or a loan, at closing. And when they pay for that, they usually want possession and the keys are delivered at that time.
Yes.
Now that makes a big challenge because when you're moving, you have to have all your stuff. Let's say you lived there 30 or 40 years, you got a lot of stuff. The garage could have a lot of stuff. And let's say you're moving later in life and you're just not as able to do all that. Movers are an option, but sometimes movers will only want to move the larger items, right? And so you really need help from family and friends to coordinate that.
Or it gets expensive and some people don't do that.
Yeah, so as we'll get this coming on the other side of the break here, what's important about that is timing. Usually they want these closings in 30 days, 60 days, and we'll come into those. And so early possession is something we talk about. We're going to carry it on the other side of the break. Do we do it? Do we let them stay back? Do we rent back from the buyer? Or do we go get something in between? Stay with Real Estate with Ryan, and we're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. Stay tuned.
Ingram here. Thinking about selling your home with all the headaches that most people experience? Well, not all real estate agents operate the same. You have someone right here in your own backyard you can trust if you need to sell your home. I'm talking about Ryan Coleman of Hometown Realty. His system outmarkets and outsells 99% of other agents in the Knoxville area. Ryan spends thousands of dollars.
Ryan, when you come back in, just mention, hey, welcome back to Talk Radio 92.3 and 760 AM, and say the number to open it up for callers to call in, and you can give that away if you want to as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Town expert like Ryan on your side. And don't worry about getting stuck owning 2 homes or no home at all. Ryan guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline acceptable to you, or he'll buy it himself. How cool is that? Call Ryan directly at 693-SOLD. That's 693-7653, or go to ryancoleman.org and start packing.
I'm Mike Gavin in for Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning. It's been 3 months since House Speaker Paul Ryan announced his retirement, but his promised run through the tape has been met with plenty of pitfalls. We'll examine the issues. Plus, fill her up or plug in. A look at the companies that are fighting to fuel the vehicles of the future, and why all those company wellness programs may not be helping you or your employer. All that and more when Gordon returns Monday on This Morning, America's First News.
Monday morning at 5 on Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
This is the Savage Nation.
We have an out-of-control crime wave in the San Francisco area that is swept under the rug because there is no newspaper. The newspaper is a wholly owned subsidiary of the entire state government, which is a one-party mafia that runs this state. I'm warning everybody listening to this show, if you come to San Francisco, be warned. There is an out-of-control crime wave.
Michael Savage, a host like no other.
Weekdays at 4, Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760. We're talking real estate with Ryan Coleman of Hometown Realty.
Join the conversation on the Pure Magic Hotline at 865-888-TALK.
Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for staying tuned to Real Estate with Ryan. As we were talking about early possession and how that can affect or become a nightmare, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, just a reminder, guys, the talk lines are open, 865-888-TALK. That's 865-888-8255. That's 888-8255. So, April, I think April has a story that we're leading into that, but what I was talking about prior to the break was talking about understanding that possession that the buyers are going to want to move in or the seller needs to be vacated by the time of closing. And so understanding that is challenging, and especially if you're moving on 2 transactions.
Yes.
And so how do we accomplish all that? Sometimes we have an opportunity where the sellers will say, you know, can I rent back from the buyer, or can the buyer move in my property? Let's say it's vacant, it's no big deal. This is a challenge. Most logical thing says, I've already relocated, my house is empty. The buyers think, well, I don't have to stay in an apartment, let me just move in early, right?
Right, because nobody's living there.
Right.
So it's
vacant, no big deal, right?
No big deal.
No big deal till it goes south.
Yes.
No big deal until...
And those are the things we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so and I think April will lead into that and give you some examples of maybe why we should consider it, and then I'll kind of come back and talk about if we're going to do it, how are we going to do it, and what makes sense for you guys. We're always trying to educate you, keep you up to date with the real estate knowledge and some of these things that can go sideways quickly.
Just so that you'll be educated on this. So these are the two stories that I have that we did not experience, but it has happened. So the first one is the sellers agreed that the buyers can move in early, and the buyers gave them $10,000 so that they could go ahead and take possession. And so they actually decided that they did not want to live there anymore. And the sellers had a backup offer, and so they wanted to go with that backup offer. The buyers refused to move out. The sellers had to take them to court. The judge decided that since the sellers actually took $10,000 of their money, then the issue would require a trial. And so this happened in California, and in California at that time, the wait to get on the docket was 5 years. So they couldn't even go to trial for 5 years.
5 years?
Yes.
Wow.
So that's just a horror story from, the very beginning. And then the second one was kind of even worse, the buyers wanted to go ahead and just do painting only before they moved in because it's easier while the house is vacant. You just paint it. Well, apparently the painters had left some of the drop cloths down, and they had those floor furnaces,
right,
and it turned on in the middle of the night and actually caught that drop cloth on fire and burned the entire house down.
No, no.
Yes. So those are the two horror stories that.
Yeah, that's the extreme, but you always run that risk. I think what we see probably more. I think what we see more frequently is buyer moves in the property. They've done their inspection. They've done their walkthrough. Everything's fine. It makes sense. Everybody has the appropriate forms, and everybody's got the appropriate monies to protect everybody. Buyer gets in there. We're ready to close in 2 weeks. All of a sudden, Murphy comes in. Murphy's AC is not working right.
Right.
All of a sudden, the buyer's finding things that they didn't see the first time when they walked through, or second time they're walking through.
The dishwasher, the microwave.
Hey, all these things, I'm second guessing. I need you to fix these things. Now, take in mind that we've already negotiated price. We've done inspection addendums, and everything is all taken care of. But because we moved the buyer in, now they're going to hold us hostage.
Right. They say if you don't fix these things, I'm not going to close.
Well, I'm just not going to close.
Exactly.
Well, I could sue you. You could. And they'll be in your property for a couple of months until y'all resolve it. Hopefully not 5 years.
Hopefully not.
So those things, really they're not funny. But, understand these things can happen. These are the risks. We never suggest doing it. We do it sometimes, okay? But we want to make sure that the clients understand, listen, we're just the agents involved. We're just the messenger. It's ultimately our client's decision. But I think information is key. That's why we wanted to do this show and really talk about that, and so you know the pros and cons. Of course, those are worse stories, but the stories are real about when a buyer gets in there, they start picking everything apart.
Yes.
And those things do happen. Or, God forbid, somehow they lose their job.
Right.
And then you're back at square one. Well, they lost their job. I mean,
you
have to be reasonable in a certain amount of time to let them vacate, right?
Yes, and I also read about what if they're doing the title search and they moved in your property, and then all of a sudden they have like tax liens and these judgments against them, and then they can't even close it.
I think that's the key. It just rains, it pours is just the best opportunity. And I tell people, if you even have to move twice, or stay with friends or family or relatives, it's better to pack everything and move it in storage than have to deal with that.
Right.
And obviously you have in a position where you can purchase the other home and you can carry 2 mortgages, or what we do a lot of times, guys, is make it contingent upon the sale. Not everybody can carry 2 mortgages or afford to. Most everybody across the board, there's some few, need to sell their home to buy the next one. That's why you need a great agent. You need a great agent that understands how to make all that work. We do that time in and time out every day. You're never passed off. We're actively involved in the process. I think there's no other way to do it, April. I mean, when things like this, where they're moving in the transaction, and you have to be actively engaged, because these mistakes that come up could put you in this situation.
Right, and I think it's just more of, if the seller says, oh, well, I mean, I don't mind, my house is vacant, no big deal, but you as an agent would really need to educate them, because it's all about education, saying, hey, these are, the pros and cons that I think, that can come of this situation, so you probably need to think twice, and then maybe that will help them, gear towards their decision, whether they want to actually do it or not.
I think the biggest thing is, a lot of times with our clients in general, when you hire your agent, whoever you may hire, if you trust them, you go that extra mile. Trust them what they do. Trust a lot of their guidance on that. I think that's so important. Sometimes we've seen that, been there, done that. We've seen these experiences. Maybe we don't go through them every time, but we kind of know what's best for you. Right. And we hopefully we can guide you in that right direction.
Yes, and so then back to that, I think another option that we have actually experienced, not only for our buyers, but for our sellers as well, that their garage would be empty, and they would let the buyers move their belongings into the garage only. Now, I also did hear before that maybe the agent miscommunicated with their client and then just said, yeah, you can move your things in, and then actually let them move their things into the house, not just the garage. So I think that can be tricky too. But But we were talking about, let's get into the lease and treating them as a tenant.
So let's talk about it. If you're going to do it, how are we going to do it right?
Do it the right way.
Specifically, the reason that suit in California came up was because they had, what the judge ruled was that because you accepted $10,000 deposit, that was considered consideration.
Right.
So we didn't consider it a tenant. It was a civil litigation. And so because the agent didn't write up a separate lease than the purchase agreement, they ended up in a 5-year suit.
And they really had no rights.
So if you're going to do it, you want to definitely have your purchase agreement separate than your lease.
Yes.
Your lease has to have a tenancy with a certain time frame with repercussions.
Yes.
And certain dates to accelerate that if they do move in, that you have a time to get them out. I think the biggest thing is just because we have a $5,000 deposit in escrow for the purchase, that does not transfer for the rental. We need to have damage insurance as well. So you need to have a $5,000 or $2,000 or whatever you can negotiate on the rental. So that's another key.
Yes.
Also, big thing that most people don't see. So if you have a residential home, it's your primary residence, you've been getting rates at a lower rate for your primary residence. As soon as you move somebody in the property, that is now an investment. Technically, if you have not disclosed with our big guys, State Farm, Allstate, all those guys, they can deny the coverage.
Right.
And I promise if it's a big one, they're going to deny the coverage.
Yes.
So make sure that even if it's for 30 days, that you're able to adjust on the fly and adjust your insurance policy.
Yes, and make sure renters.
Renters.
Right, is that what you want?
No, well, yeah, you want to make sure that you have your renter's coverage in there, and that even if it's for 30 days, adjust that coverage and also include vandalism.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So there's a vandalism rider that will go with the insurance policy. If for some reason something like that would happen, that you are covered, some kind of protection.
Because you don't want to be liable if something happens and they're in your property, they fall down the stairs or whatever.
And there's that liability coverage with a landlord policy versus a residential, and then just prevents any claims if something's going to happen that you are covered. The bodily injury, things like that.
So that's a good one. So make sure that you get your landlord tenant documents straight as well.
But I think, you know, April, when we're chatting about that, I mean, there's some options to do it and do it right, but a lot of times things can be avoided, I think, by just trying to coordinate the dates, making sure a lot of everything's done, preparation up front. You know, it's a big move, it's a large move. We always are encouraging people, if such a big move, call us out to come out and talk to you. You know, it's always a free consultation. We can look at your home, tell you exactly what you need to do, tell you how the steps, the process, all these questions. Sometimes we usually spend 2 hours with our clients and really just educate them on the process and help walk them through the scenario. I think so many people just are overwhelmed by such a big move. By getting us out in front before you actually have to move gives us kind of ahead of the game. And so we can kind of plan for movers. We can make sure that is rental an option, or do we need to sell this first? Or in the purchase, what are you looking for? As the market is slim, we don't want to sell your home and not have anywhere to go. So we need to make sure that contingencies are in there as well. So all these things come into play, and that's why we always stress, we know it's a process. Call us first so we can come out and chat with you. Spend a little time. You can get to know us and even see at the same time if we're somebody you want to work with.
Right. Yep. You got that right. Another one is repairs. I think that a lot of times the buyers say, well, let me make a couple of repairs before I move in because it's easier, even if they lay flooring or whatever the case may be. So you got to think about those things too. Who's going to be responsible? The sellers get to keep it. You're out money. Kind of what happens with there.
So many things to think about.
Yes.
I hope you've enjoyed that topic today.
Hopefully it's been helpful to you guys and it's something for you to think about.
I think the recap is the main thing is just take with caution and have a good agent in your corner, and we'll walk you through that, hopefully, if you decide to buy or sell.
Yes.
Hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you for listening to Real Estate with Ryan. We're here every Saturday at 11 o'clock in the studios. Talk Radio 92.3 FM, AM 760. If you need me, or April, 693-SOLD, or RyanColeman.org. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we're going to see you next week.
Thank you.
Take care. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We're cut short. Thank you for following us on social media. Like our page, follow our page. If you got any friends or family in the business, if we can be of help of anything at all, Make sure you subscribe to our page. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you for
Talk
following us.
Radio 92.3 and AM 760 is looking to expand our sales force.